Yeah, so when we got to the airport, I remember in the MTC somebody told me, or like I heard something about how you should smile getting out of the gate. So when your mission president sees you, he sees you smiling. I don't know why they gave that advice, but that's the advice I got. So I remember doing that, and when I got to the mission home, I was just smiling. I don't know why, but that helped me a lot. That's what I remember the most. And then I remember seeing my trainer before I knew she was my trainer. And I saw her and I was like, I want that to be my trainer. I want her to be my trainer. And it ended up being her. And my first day in the field, the first thing we did was go to eat. And that was really scary to me because I looked at the food and I had no idea what it was. And it turned out just to be fried chicken. But I asked my companion and I was like, what is this? And she was like, pollo, which is chicken in Spanish. And I was like, no, this is not chicken. And then after that, we just had to go out and contact because we were opening an area, which I did not understand at the time because I didn't really understand any Spanish. So my first few weeks, we're just basically contacting and then going back to those contacts, going to their houses and seeing if they wanted to listen to us. And yeah. So part of my mission is the MTC. So I guess missionaries now that are coming from the U.S. go straight to the MTC in Mexico, and then our mission president just goes and picks them up. So you could be called to, your first area could be the MTC and just the area around it. So the area around it is very strong. Like there's a lot of members there, and there's a lot of members that have been members for years, and like their parents have been members. And the rest of the mission isn't really like that. Most of the wards are made up of converts. Everybody in your ward will be a convert except for like maybe one family that's grown up in the church. So most people are Catholic. You'll come across some Jehovah's Witnesses, but most people are Catholic and they don't practice it. So when you say you want to talk to them about God and about Jesus, they'll be totally willing. And when you teach them about our church, they will say that that's exactly what they believe. So that's kind of hard because they think that you're just teaching them the same thing that they've always believed. They don't see a need to change. In my mission, it's really small. I think it's like the second smallest mission, but there are a ton of stakes and a ton of wards. And in each ward, it will have, like on the ward roster, there will be like anywhere from 500 to 800 people, but you'll have probably 50 to 100 people go to church every week. And it's really hard to get people active again because a lot of them got baptized just right away. But it's really cool because it's kind of like you're teaching the lessons almost for the first time because they never really got to feel it the first time. So it's actually a lot of finding members that have gotten baptized and then getting them back to church. I think if I could go back and know something now, like know something then that I know now is definitely that you should just love people and understand where they're coming from. Because a lot of these people it's really hard for them to make this change. Like a lot of people have huge struggles, like they've been living their life one way their whole lives, and they really want to make a change, but it's hard. So I wish I would have been more patient with people and understood that, like, even though me as a missionary, I'm focused on the scriptures and feeling the Spirit every day, I wish I would have realized that it's not like that for everyone else. Now I can understand and see that that it's hard to get to the temple, it's hard to get to church, but I just couldn't get that. I couldn't understand that when I was on my mission. So I think I would have been able to help more people if I would have been more patient with them. So I started my mission in December of 2013, and I finished in June 2015. I served most of my mission in the state of Mexico, not actually in Mexico City, and that was Villa de las Flores, which was the stake in the area Rinconada, and I was there for like almost 9 months. So I served most of my mission in Rinconada. They were awesome. They loved me so much, and I loved them so much. They became like a family to me, and they always joked that like I was going to live there forever. And then after that, I went to a part of Mexico City called Linda Vista. The ward was called Progreso Nacional or Nacional Dos. And that was a lot different. It was a little bigger. It was closer to the city, and the members were used to elders instead of sisters because the sisters were new there. So we were working on making a relationship with them and getting them to help us. And I was only there for 2 transfers. And then after that, I went back to the state of Mexico to Coacalco. In the area Granjas, and that area was huge. We had 2 other companionships in that area of elders, so we had that split up into 3 areas inside of that area. So that was a lot harder because we had to give some references to the elders, but the members there were great too, and I loved that area too. So I was in Progreso Nacional, which is kind of a dangerous area. Most people didn't expect sisters to be there, and were surprised when I told them that I served there. But I loved it because there was a market in the middle of it, and there was a market that was just there every single day, and we'd go there a lot of times to eat lunch. The members would just pay for us to go eat lunch at the market, and inside or outside of that market, there would just be stands of like anything you could possibly want to buy. You could get hair extensions, eyelash extensions. There was a stand with just like nail polishes and little decorations for your nails. There's stands that sell like shakes. Like you can buy anything in these markets, and they're so much fun. So that's probably my favorite thing to do on P days. And just walking through, I like to look at everything. And it was a little bit different because it was more packed in. In the state of Mexico, everybody's a little more spread out, just a little bit. It looks more suburban, but in Mexico City, there will be tons of people living in one house, just in little different apartments. Even though it'll look like a house on the outside, it'll be a bunch of different apartments on the inside. And then most people there would do the same thing. They would go to farther into Mexico City to work every day, and yeah. So my favorite thing about Mexico City is the food. It does have, Mexico in general has a lot of different types of food throughout the whole country. Mexico City, one thing I love there are the pambazos. Which are like sandwiches that are dipped in like a salsa, and then on the inside they have like mashed potatoes and like sausage, and then they put like sour cream and lettuce and more salsa on the inside. So I love those. Mexico City is kind of one of the few places in Mexico you can get those. They have the best tacos there. Even if you think you've had great tacos in the United States, you really haven't. So transportation. Taxis are usually pretty safe. You have to make sure they have a taximetro, which shows you how much you're paying, or else they're going to probably tell you at the end that you owe like 500 pesos, which is like $50, and that's crazy. You should probably only be spending like $2 on a taxi. If you go on the metro or on different buses, I would definitely recommend keeping your purse or your bag in front of you or close to you, because, well, people have told me, I've never been robbed before, but people have told me that people will take out things from your bags if you don't keep them close to you. And I always felt really safe in Mexico. I only had one time that a guy tried to rob us, and he and my companion ended up convincing him that we didn't have any money. He said that missionaries always have money and they always have cameras, but she told him that we didn't, and he just walked away. But other than that, I never had any really scary experiences. I felt safe the whole time. As long as you're smart about what you're doing and not staying out super late at night, then you should be completely safe. Okay, so Rinconada, is right next to Eje Ocho, which is a long street where combis pass, and those are basically vans that people take as buses. So that's how most people transport themselves to Mexico City. And then inside of there are apartments, but it looks like a suburban area. And they're in Rinconada. It feels really small. All of the houses look exactly the same. They're kind of like condos. There'll be 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, and that will be a building. And basically the whole area is like that. And there's a lot of little parks. In the very middle, there on one corner there's a taqueria where they sell tacos. On the other corner they sell bread and churros at night. And then on another corner there's a little store that sells like basically anything you would want, like drinks, little snacks, things like that. And that was kind of the center of Rinconada. And then in Rinconada, something funny, I always thought that Mexico would be hot, and it's not always hot. Especially in Mexico City during the summer, it rains every single day. At about 3 p.m., it'll just start pouring rain, like there's no way to escape it. I should have brought rain boots, but my mom sent me some after, because you'll just get completely soaked. And one day I remember there, by the stake center, there was this curb that was probably a foot high, maybe a little higher than that, and it was just rain all the way to the top of that curb. So the weather was just crazy. So most people don't work there. Most people that work in Mexico City. So they take the combis or the vans all the way to the center of Mexico City to work. And then there's a few people that will sell food and stuff like that, but that's basically all you can do working in that area. So in Mexico City, you'll find basically all of the stores that you would, like Walmart, Home Depot, like it feels a lot like home there. So on P days, basically that was what we would do. We'd go to Walmart, and right next to Walmart, there's a little mall. So you can do a little shopping there. So it would take about 2 hours to get into Mexico City from Rinconada, but it is like just over the mountains from Mexico City. It's just there's a ton of traffic. So like to get to the mission home from Villa de las Flores, it would take about 2 hours, even though if there wasn't any traffic, it would probably take like 30 minutes. I think I would just be as loving as you possibly can. Show as much love as you can, because you will get through to so many more people, and you will get so much more out of your mission if you can be more loving and show that love. The missionaries that have the most success, I think, are the ones that can just love anyone they encounter, whether it be less active members that maybe are a little more difficult, investigators that have a lot of problems. Just love as much as you can, and you will be able to help those members throughout your life if they know that you love them. They'll come back to you after years, like on Facebook, they'll ask you questions, tell you all the problems they're having, and you will still be able to help them. And you'll be able to be a missionary your whole life to those same people and really make a difference in their lives. The rain is really extreme. Like you've never felt rain like this before. It will just completely soak you. The one time we got robbed, the guy had a gun. I don't know if it was real, but that was probably the craziest time. And I was ready to give him my money, but my companion kept telling him no. That you should always be willing to give. Mexicans are so giving. Even if they have almost nothing, they will still worry about you, worry that you haven't eaten, even though you've eaten like 6 meals that day. It's just extremely important to give everything that you can to help other people. Yeah, so there was, in my last area, there was this dog that looked exactly like Scooby-Doo, and he was so friendly. So I ended up petting him one day because he was so cute, and he would not leave us alone after that. He followed us and was jumping on me. He was huge, but he was so friendly and having so much fun, and he would not leave me alone. And people were laughing at me on the street because they thought it was so funny, but I could not get away from him. I think the hardest thing was having a companion and realizing that companion doesn't always want the same thing that you do. So you have to sometimes compromise, but then sometimes you have to realize that you have to do the right thing and be obedient. In my first area, there was a family. They had probably like 6 kids living with them, and at the time we were really looking for investigators because we basically had nothing, and we happened to get this as a reference, I believe, and we went to visit them, and we realized that this family was huge, and they were just so amazing with us. They were so open, and they wanted to listen to the gospel, and that was basically just an answer to our prayers because we were able to find like 7 investigators that way because we prayed so hard and we tried to find investigators so hard, and that was just an answer to our prayers, and I know that God was listening to us. I don't know that I made any language mistakes. I probably did, but they weren't funny. I do remember though, in my second area, there was a new elder, and he was trying to say sucedió, which means it happened, but he said suicidio, which means they suicided. So that was kind of a huge mistake. And in the MTC, I remember the word for sin and fish is really similar. It's just a letter difference. And my companion said pescado, which is fish, instead of pecado, which is sin. And that made the teacher laugh really hard because we were like teaching them. I would just be excited as you can. I loved my mission, and I was really nervous, and honestly, it was the best experience of my life. It was so hard, and you can't underestimate how hard it will be. Your companions might be disobedient, they might not want the same things as you do, but just keep going forward, just be obedient, do the right thing. If you need help, talk to your leaders. They're always there for you. The members always want to help you. It's going to be so hard, but you're going to expand your knowledge and gain a testimony. You're going to grow so much, and it's completely worth it.